The Danish Armed Forces has signed a contract for new uniforms to replace portions of the Nordic Combat Uniform or NCU system. With Norway recently issuing a recall for NCU shirts, pulling them from service, is this latest move by Denmark confirmation that the multinational project is a failure? Let's take a look at what's going on with this troubled program for today's video. And so it was on June 16th that the Danish military's procurement agency, the FMI, signed a contract for new uniforms for the Danish Armed Forces, as well as the Danish Home Guard and the Danish Emergency Management Agency. It was clearly stated in the FMI announcement that the new uniform purchase was meant to replace the parts of the Nordic Combat Uniform System, or NCU, that have been found to be quote-unquote quality challenged. FMI goes on to explain that earlier in 2026 it had to stop the delivery of NCU garments due to quality challenges experienced with the combat uniforms already in service. It was actually back in November 2025 that the agency disclosed that both Denmark and Norway had identified a number of quality problems with the part of the NCU system known as the light uniform. The challenges included, among others, fabric fading and taking on a frayed appearance, the uniform wearing out faster than expected, and some seams coming apart. It was added that the supplier stopped production of the lightweight uniform due to these issues and was collaborating with Norway to find solutions. We'll recap experiences and actions of other countries later, but getting back to Denmark's latest move, FMI said it had signed a new contract with clothing supplier Syntex, which produces the uniforms in collaboration with Cry Precision. The new uniform has been designated Combat Uniform M26. The replacement concerns light combat uniforms, heavy combat uniforms, and combat shirts for the entire Danish Armed Forces, and as mentioned at the beginning, the Home Guard and the Emergency Management Agency. It's added that parts of the NCU delivery that are not quality challenged will continue to be procured under the original framework agreement. Such components include underwear, mid-layer clothing, winter clothing, and rainwear. The Danish Navy will continue to be issued with the new M26 combat uniform in the blue colour. Colonel Thomas Ørndal Knudsen, head of the Land Military Division at FMI, had this to say in a statement translated from Danish to English. "I'm pleased to be able to sign this new framework agreement on the combat uniforms. With this agreement, we not only ensure that everyone can quickly receive new uniforms of high quality, we also ensure a good fit for both men and women. The new uniforms are delivered in a unique men's and women's model." On the topic of receiving the uniforms quickly, it said that the supplier of the new combat uniforms will successfully deliver the new uniforms from October 2026 to October 2027. As these newer M26 items enter the system, they'll replace issued combat uniform items from the NCU system. With the first delivery being in October, it was stated that new conscripts who start their service in August 2026 are expected to be dressed in NCU and M11 in accordance with the clothing at the garrison. When it comes to the Belgian company Syntex, they're no strangers to making protective clothing. Indeed, the firm was established way back in 1908 and specialized in manufacturing canvas for the British Army during World War II. The company says that in the 1990s, their family-owned company became a forerunner in high-tech fabrics. Calling itself a quote-unquote leading European supplier, Syntex says that its customers include the armed forces of France, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, the United Kingdom, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and of course, Denmark. The company on its homepage states that one of its more recent accomplishments is the rollout of the Belgian Defence Clothing System, or BDCS, to the Belgian Army. Over the next 15 years, Syntex will equip the Belgian military with new operational clothing and accessories, primarily in multicam. It's not explicitly stated whether or not Denmark will be getting the exact same thing as the Belgians, including uniform cut, pocket layout, etc., but it also wouldn't be a surprise if that was the case. After all, Belgians have gone with the multicam pattern just as the Danes have, and it would certainly allow for the quick delivery highlighted by FMI. But somewhat confirming the adoption of parts of the Belgian defence clothing system, the images posted by FMI are the exact same as those found on the BDCS website. The same shirt, same trousers, and same tactical jacket. And so, getting back to the Nordic combat uniform system, we've already reported extensively on Norway's negative experiences with the new garments. Shirts and trousers reportedly fade quickly while also wearing thin faster than expected or ripping easily at certain parts. Most recently, we put out a video on how Norway had to stop issuing undershirts as they were reportedly degrading when saturated with sweat. Our video from late 2025 noted how a Finnish representative stated that some items of the NCU system had become more susceptible to wear than other uniform systems. The spokesperson added that this had been reported to the manufacturer. Swedish forces and the Swedish media seem to be the most silent, and so maybe the way Swedish soldiers move and sweat is different from the others and no issues exist, or they're just really staying silent. The former being rather hard to believe and the latter being more likely, in our opinion. And so we'll just have to wait and see if any more issues arise with Sweden and Finland, but it really does appear to be Norway and Denmark taking the most public steps in addressing issues of garment quality. To answer one of our main questions as to whether or not the NCU program has failed, well, it really does seem to be the case that it is indeed failing at the moment. The Swedish Armed Forces, in explaining the four-nation initiative, says this on a webpage. One of the advantages of a joint combat uniform project is the size of the procurement. With a contract value of €425 million, it has attracted suppliers from all over the world, which has laid the foundation for increased competition and better quality for the funds invested. Under this reasoning of better quality for money, NCU does appear to be failing. Despite extensive field testing and trials, the early mass-produced batches reaching the Nordic militaries have become more of a headache and a liability. When it comes to any cost savings, this would appear to have evaporated for Denmark as the nation is simply going with another supplier. The big question will be whether or not NCU suppliers can turn things around and recover from a fairly disastrous rollout. We imagine the patience and trust of participating nations is wearing thin as some of the NCU garments being issued. We also imagine that the design of many elements is solid, and so maybe it just requires a different textile supplier or a different company to stitch everything together. But that leads us to our conclusion and our big question for you. Do you think that NCU can recover and one day have its reputation restored? After all, these could just be the teething problems of a large-scale project. Or maybe you're on the other side and you think that it's too late to turn things around. Let us know by leaving a comment.